We live in a world of constant communication. And I don't mean that we're talking to people every day, we're talking to a million people. We have a conversation with people that can go on over days, weeks, or months just through different modes. And we may start that conversation in a Zoom, and then it's pick me up on email, send me an email about this, and then it's okay. So then when are we meeting again? And then are we? Oh, you know what? I'm on LinkedIn. Even send me, DM me on LinkedIn. And so the question is, how do we get where we're going? What the end game is with that conversation? How do we conclude that conversation in the way that we're trying to when we have to keep shifting modes?
Interesting, because each personality style actually has a preferred mode of communication. And of course, individually, we probably do as well, whether we fall into that style or not. So, how do we keep things going? I'll tell you what I did recently. I've engaged a new coach, and he connected with me. Initially, I think it was LinkedIn. He sent me emails. Uh, then there was a text message from him. Well, it turns out when I asked him how did he prefer, it was WhatsApp. And so, yes, there was a fourth way of communicating.
Right. Was this someone overseas, like internationally? No.
No, but I suspect he coaches people
Yeah.
overseas. Yeah, but
Yeah,
I was
because
actually
WhatsApp
surprised.
is. Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy. Go ahead.
I was surprised because WhatsApp, like you say, you immediately associate it with international communication.
Yeah. Well, I go by, I have at least as many modes of communication as I have children. So I have five kids, ranging in age from 11 to 33, and basically the the oldest son prefers Messenger. The next son prefers WhatsApp, and he's living in New Jersey, but he just is always on WhatsApp. He has clients. I think maybe he's in jewelry. He has clients that are international, but still, just WhatsApp is what he likes. My family group of my wife and I and all the kids is a WhatsApp group because our daughter's in Israel, and so she lives overseas. So for her, WhatsApp is definitely the best. And then the younger kids are on text. My 17 turning 18-year-old daughter is on text, and my 11-year-old is on text as well. And that's that. But that's not how they communicate with their friends necessarily. Snapchat and everything else. But you know, so I have to be, and none of them really are active on LinkedIn. But I,
Yeah.
but I am. That's my preferred.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that because, of course, even you and I've asked you how should I communicate with you, and you actually answered email. That
email.
you would
Yeah,
prefer email. So,
for
uh,
work. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
for work.
And I feel like LinkedIn is becoming more about the engagement within posts in the comments and so forth and putting your content out than it is about that communication in the DM. Where I don't know. I can't tell if there are people who are nobody seems to want to communicate via DM on LinkedIn all the time. They want to move it over to something else.
I disagree. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
one of my clients, Chicky Fitzgerald, and she absolutely it's LinkedIn. There is,
Okay.
and I have her email, I have a phone, I have other ways of communicating, and she's made it clear that it's LinkedIn inbox.
Well, yeah, there you go. Well, what sparked this episode topic was a question I asked you recently about. Well, I had a conversation with a prospect on Zoom. It was a really good conversation. They had a pressing engagement. They could not continue on that conversation, but suggested, well, just pick it up quickly with an email, and we'll circle back. And now I will tell you, that was a week ago. That's the last I heard back from them. I never got a response. I sent the email immediately, dutifully. I never heard back from that email. I sent LinkedIn was never really the big thing. We have been pretty much communicating via email and on Zoom.
Yeah,
And a lot on Zoom through various things, my podcast, the discovery calls, various things.
when something like that happens, Hirsch, especially because there is a history of having had successful communication via a particular mode. You okay?
My cup holder was,
Yes,
my condensation was,
it lingered with it. So
yeah.
when there's been a history of good communication with a person and then it falls off like that, of course, I begin to think something has interfered. It isn't by choice that they failed to communicate.
Hmm.
It's that some external circumstance, maybe their own health problem, a family member, something has happened to set it off course. And
Yeah.
so, of course, that's what I usually send in an email, something around, or whatever mode you've been communicating, like something must be wrong here. I'm concerned. If you get a moment, just please let me know you're okay, so that I don't worry. But
Yeah.
I do have a concern
Yeah,
that
me too.
something's wrong.
That's exactly the case. And I have two people that I have that with, where they're, I think they know that, well, the first person was, I would say, is a new contact. So we're still kind of getting to know each other, but I would say I definitely am like, well, it's not like that person to just be to not communicate. And with the other person, I feel like it's someone with whom I have enough of a rapport where they're not going to ghost. They're both prospects, and that's the basis of it. But I feel in the second case, especially, um, there's an honesty there. I always try to establish that honesty, that basis of, you can open communication. It's okay. You can tell me anything. You're not, but do you put, like, in an email, do you put in the subject, just checking on you, just making sure you're okay? Or what do you do?
Yeah, well, you're right. There needs to be a subject heading like that would get someone's attention, so that they would respond. Just checking
Just checking is a little
is
businessy.
vanilla. It's
Yeah.
vanilla, and it really won't get somebody's attention like you think. That,
Yeah.
in fact, I've been doing a series on follow up this week in LinkedIn, and that just checking does not really catch people's attention. There needs to be a better headline. Uh, I have actually been going to ChatGPT, asking it to give me some ways of approaching it, because I believe it should be express concern and interest without, and in a humorful, light way, without it
Yeah.
sounding like the troll guard is
Yeah.
holding up the stop sign or waving you forward or something.
Yeah. And I don't, and it yeah, it really feels like sometimes you get to that point. Now, other times you have to recognize, like we talk about with the likability system, it's good to know what their personalities and their types are like. And I think we should get into that, like what some people's modes and all of those things are influenced by that. But you know, and so sometimes it's like, look, you know, it's only 2 days or 3 days or even a week. Some people just, you know,
It's busy time. And for
they're
example,
busy.
if people are communicating, say, in LinkedIn, in the message box, or Facebook in Messenger, people may not check their social media daily. And here you
Yes.
think it's so urgent, and maybe that's how you've been communicating, but people really don't check social media or maybe that platform as regularly as you think. So keep that in mind. I
Yeah.
know I'm personally of the mindset I don't like having all these text messages sent to my phone. I am now quite resistant when somebody wants my phone number for purposes of these SMS messages.
Uh-huh.
No, I do not want to be reminded 20 times about the event
Your
that's
phone call is starting in 2 minutes. Your
exactly.
phone call is starting in 8 minutes. Yeah, it
Yeah.
starts with, some of them start with, and we've talked about this, designing your workflows, and Calendly's great for designing a really good workflow. I'm getting a lot of compliments on my current workflow reminder setup, where I have some videos that, depending on the appointment they've set, they are getting certain videos that familiarize them with me, but not overkill, and not that every 10 minutes. But yeah, you don't like, so based on a likability profiles, um, what would you say about how people
So
like modes of
again,
communication to work?
remember that we use numbers to represent the four styles, and the numbers came from the fact that this person is either a fast or slower processor when it comes to making a decision. So, as you can imagine, the people who are fast, the two, the four, and they tend to be the fast people, they're looking for fast communication, i.e., a text message or phone call. That seems to work really well because they just want it right away. The people that are slower in responding, your six, your eight, they actually would prefer more of the emails because of the fact that they have a process and a system, and they will get to it as part of their system. And they, of course, tend to be the readers. So keep that in mind because the number two, the number four, they're not big on reading. Hence, you want to keep it short, bullet points. That's why a text message is often very helpful. You don't need to speak in full sentences. A voice texting I find to be quite helpful. That seems to be a way to feel connected with the person without it being overly whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
keep that in mind for your twos and your fours. They will appreciate a text message, especially voicemail.
Ah, okay. Well, now the I won't say the dreaded eight. I would say that the six could be, you know, in some cases, you know, a little bit intimidating. But the eight, what does the type eight person want when it comes to follow up?
To be left alone.
Oh, okay.
However, that's not an option. If you are following up, you cannot leave people alone. You
Right.
ask for permission, and you usually say, would it be, may I follow up? And their response is no, I'll call you. A typical number eight response. At which point you say, well, if I haven't heard from you by the end of the month, do I have your permission to reach out again? And they'll usually say yes. At which point now you have the option to touch base again. And usually, as I said, for an eight, they like to read. So an email is a great way to talk to them. Make that headline, subject line, juicy, because that is what's going to get them to open and read.
Right. So if this person is an eight, let's say, who this first person, where they were shifting modes. They were going, okay, I gotta jump, and you know, hit me up on email, and we'll continue from there. And they're an eight. You know, what would you recommend if I did exactly as they had asked, but there was no pickup, where prior they had been very consistent about scheduling the next thing.
So that is exactly why I believe something happened to derail them. It wasn't that they were ghosting you or whatever,
Yeah.
but their attention got taken into some other avenue of activity. And
Mm-hmm.
so the subject line could say something along that effect of, hope nothing's wrong, because clearly something got them, off track.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like, for the most part, I was literally just telling this to a friend of mine today. I recommended that he look at your likability. He's a buff on all these things, on
Good.
on sales psychology, and on he said I geek out on this stuff. So
We've
I
got to be
sent him
introduced then.
yeah, so I sent the email link, the website link, but his preferred thing is Google Meet. That's his preferred,
There you
and
go.
LinkedIn is always a good DM thing. But we were talking about that, and I said for the most part, this has really been on target, this likability system, because it has saved me. He was saying I had to write a whole bunch. I had to write a proposal for somebody, and of course, I was happy to do it. We got into this conversation about how you may not have to give them the written proposal.
That's right.
That's the 6 that's going to want the written
That's
proposal.
right.
If they're an 8, they may just want you to talk them through the value, but they don't necessarily need to see it written out in detail. That may not be their
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating.
It pays to know what style you're talking with. Well, guess what? We have come to the end of this session, even though we probably have plenty more to say about it.
Yes.
And so we will pick this up in next week. This is Nancy Zaire, Dr. Nancy Zaire, Sales with Soul.
And this is Hirsch Repun, selling the truth, always selling the truth, wishing you a happy and